Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Johnny Vlogs. I'm your host, John Lorden. For today's episode, for October 30th, 2017, is there something over my shoulder? Guess not. Today we are looking into probably the most famous ghost video to have come out this season. Now, I have to say, just right off the top of this video, I have some minor regrets that I didn't cover this earlier because a lot of other places have covered it. But just know that I'm going to go over the information that I had found. I started researching this thing weeks ago, so I still want to cover those facts. I want to cover them with you. I will be clear about any information that I learned from the newer analysis that have come out, or analyses, I guess, that have come out. And we have a new video from the same location that no one's really talked about yet, so we're going to look into that as well. Before we get started, I have a ton of Patreon supporters to thank. I'm going to try to get through this list as quick as I possibly can, but just know that I appreciate each and every one of you out there. So for new pledges on Patreon, Lucille Goldup, Ruby Hoffling, hope I'm saying that right, Dirthy, Mason Hughes, Lisa McCaffrey, and Suzanne Emanuelson. Thank each and every one of you for now supporting me on Patreon. I truly, truly appreciate it. On top of that, we have several people that have increased their pledge, some of them in major ways. Jerry Cannon has increased his pledge. WenCam78 has increased their pledge in a big way. Yoli Viali with a big increase. Ryan Pennington increases his pledge. Lisa Springer increases her pledge. Thank each and every one of you. I truly, truly appreciate it. And you guys already know I can't do this without you. So thank you for supporting me and keeping me here. All right, so let's start with some information from today.com. And I would say this is probably where the story got its biggest, was right around this time. It was in early October. New York Post had written about it. Today has written about it. If you do a Google News search on it, you're going to see tons of articles, not just from Ireland where this occurred, but really it's an international thing, this story. So, an Irish school might have some ghosts among its student body. Surveillance cameras captured some spooky happenings in a hallway at 3 a.m. on October 1st at Deer Park CBS School in Cork, Ireland, just a few weeks before Halloween. And speaking of which, if any of you are from Cork, Ireland, and maybe you bump into someone with the last name of Lorden, you might want to tell them that their long-lost, most likely nephew, possibly grandson, is here in America making YouTube videos. I have a lot of family, particularly in the Cork area, because that is on my father's side of the family, where we're all from. I have been out there a few times as a child, but I haven't really been out there as an adult. Hopefully I'll get to change that at some point soon, but I know I have a lot of uncles and aunts out there, so maybe you know one of them. Upon first seeing the footage, Deer Park duty principal Aaron Wolf sent the clip to Principal Kevin Barry in disbelief. Now, that's part of this story that kind of makes it interesting and somewhat validates it. We have staff here that is involved in this video becoming popular. We now have part of the story that involves a deputy principal and him sending the clip to the main principal. So this is security footage, supposedly. This has to be legit, right? Right? Is there something still over my shoulder? All right, well, we're going to continue here, but we're going to change things up, and I'm going to bring you into Adobe Premiere Pro. This is the main tool I use for all my editing on every show that I do here on the channel. Let me try to resize the window to get it as big as we can for you guys. There we go. And I've got a project here that has both of the videos in it. So we're going to start with the first video. This is the video that was most popular. I think it probably is coming up on about 13 million views at this point. And worth noting, it was actually posted at the Deer Park CBS YouTube page. They have their own YouTube page. They have another video there that they did of a mannequin challenge thing. I don't think I have it up right now, but I'll have sources for it in the description box below so you can check that out. But let's take a look at this footage together and see what we can learn about it. First of all, this is the wide view, so I just want you guys to have a very good kind of comfortable understanding of the elements here. We've got a door in the back that is going to have some activity. We've got the lockers here. This row of lockers in particular, something's going to happen. This locker in particular, something's going to happen. And then this wet floor sign, which a lot of people question, what the heck is a wet floor sign doing there at 3 o'clock in the morning? It doesn't seem like there's anyone working around there. Would the janitors have really left the wet floor sign out? Personally, I think maybe they would have if, for example, they had just mopped that area or they had some special reason to mop that area. It does look like these possibly could be bathrooms here. I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility that this sign could have been left out. However, it is kind of facing the camera pretty head on in terms of the shot. And I do want to credit BuzzFeed with that piece of information. Information I noticed prior to that and when I was analyzing this is, first of all, the camera angles. And you guys know that I've looked at security footage a lot, and the camera angle is always a big point of scrutiny for me. What we see here is this camera is set up pretty much at eye level, and I would say probably at eye level for someone that's a little shorter than me. I would say this is probably set up somewhere between 4.5 to 5 feet. And I'm making that conclusion based on this picture frame that we're seeing here. Most security cameras are placed kind of out of the way, typically up high against the ceiling in a corner. As a matter of fact, I do believe this up here is also a security camera, and Snopes has some coverage on this and they have a better shot of this hallway. We can jump to that real quick. That kind of validates that. Here we go. So that is, I believe, another security camera, the one in the footage we're seeing. They're showing this picture because supposedly this is the security camera that captures this footage, but they did an overlay on it that's really cool and really kind of describes it. Look at this. This is the overlay of the actual footage. And you can see that the angle that it's coming from just does not match the height there. If that was the camera that was being used, you wouldn't have nearly a good shot of the side of that picture. You might catch the corner and some of the top of the picture frame as it was shooting this way. But quite honestly, we don't even know if that's how the camera's pointing because it's in this dome. So, but clearly, as you can see from this overlay that they did, this is at, 4.5 to maybe 5 feet high, I think is where the camera's set up, probably on a tripod. So what's the first thing that happens here? The door slams shut. Anything real interesting about that? Not particularly. Pretty easy to fake. You have someone on the outside waiting to slam the door shut. I don't think there's really anything to that particular effect. Certainly would be easy to recreate that if you wanted to fake it for some reason. Now we go to the lockers. And even the first time I saw this video, my first thought on this was, what the heck is that window doing right behind that locker? And there is another video where it's actually during the mannequin challenge video. You can see a hallway that's very similar to this one. It's not this exact hallway. And by the way, I know this sounds like I'm just ripping off the BuzzFeed video, but this is the exact analysis that I was doing on this. You can see that this is indeed a window, and if the bottom portion was open, it'd be very easy for someone to reach in from outside and push on that. So I don't know where the door that we saw slam leads to. Is it possible that the person slammed that, ran around, came here, reached in the window and started shaking that? I think so. I think you might have one person that's responsible for those two things happening so far. Now here, there's something really interesting, and I don't know if the audio is good enough for you guys to pick this up. So I'm going to try to zoom this in as much as I can. But what I'm detecting in the audio before this next effect is someone took some white noise or just some noise from the room, and for some reason they looped it. And I think they might have done that because they either had footsteps, like maybe they were running to their next location, or maybe they had to call out to someone else that was helping them with the filming. Something got covered up in this next gap between what happens with the lockers and this locker falling open. So like I said, I don't think you guys can hear it because of the way the audio is set up here, but I'm going to just let you know when I hear it restart. Boom. 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 5 loops before the next thing happens. And as we can see from the footage here, let me change this so you can get a better shot of what's happening here. We have a locker that opens and everything falls out. One of the first things I noticed here too, particularly because we got to see this row of lockers moving, and when that movement was happening, you get a very clear picture of locks on these lockers that are shaking in a different time than the rest of the unit is. The big question here is when this one pops open, where is its lock? And I'm sorry, I've got this split on 2 different clips here, so this is a little clunky, but there's no lock on that unit. So for some reason, some kid put his stuff in there and didn't put a lock on it, and his stuff came falling out. Now, the reason why I've got it angled down here, and this is an interesting thing that the BuzzFeed video pointed out that I didn't think about, is people wonder, well, could this be done with a wire of some kind? I think it can be. My original thought was that the wire was likely on the latch in some way and then maybe hooped around a couple of the other latches and went back out the window. Because at that point, you could have the same person that was responsible for pushing the lockers pull on a wire. You would just have to have a path where you might even shoot down to this one, just depending on the angle you needed to open the latch on this locker. The BuzzFeed video says they think that the wire is attached directly to one of the books in the locker, and all they're doing is pulling on that to bring it forward. And I kind of agree with them. I think that's a really good analysis. What's interesting about that theory is look at the direction that this book in particular is going. And first of all, look at the distance that's traveled. This door kicks open. We have a couple of papers that look like they fall over to here, but we have this item going way farther, and the direction that it's traveling is actually towards us, towards the camera. And of course, this is where the camera footage ends down here. So it's possible that someone that is running the camera or standing behind the camera has a string, pulled that string, the latch was already open, the door was just closed, and it was enough force to pop that door open. And then that might explain why this thing travels much farther than these do. These are clearly falling out. This one seems to have some force behind it that doesn't make a lot of sense. So I think I learned something from BuzzFeed on that one. I will certainly give them credit for that. Let's jump to the next instance. There's one more thing that happens in this video. I just want to show you guys, once again, in the audio down here, I'm detecting a loop. Now, I don't know if this one is as faked as the one that I was trying to show you before. I can clearly hear that that was a recording loop. This next one, there might be some mechanical item that is actually running in this room. On the BuzzFeed video, they talk about that there might be a radiator behind here, and that's what these pipes are for. It could be clicking from that radiator, but you can see here, click. Something is clicking in there a series of times that wasn't in the rest of the video. But I'm not sure it's a recording loop. At least I'm not as sure it's a recording loop as I was on the previous one. It could be that something is clicking. Maybe they're getting ready for the next effect or something like that. I'm really not sure. And here's the final one. The big finale for this video, which is the wet floor sign spinning all around. Now, once again, note the direction. it also comes towards us, possibly in a place where even if the cameraman wasn't standing behind the camera, but just to the left of it, he would know that he was out of view. So my theory is 2 kids did this. One of them was outside, did the door, ran around to the window, did the pushing on the lockers. And then the kid that is close to the camera has 2 strings. One of them he pulls the book out of the locker. And then the other one he pulls, spins the wet floor sign around. And on the BuzzFeed video, they talk about this frame in particular. They think that that is a string that you can see there. I really don't know. I don't know if that is enough for me to say that that is clearly the string. It might be, but I'm not 100% sold on that. In any regard, do I think that it's hoaxed? Yeah, I do think it's hoaxed. I think they did a really good job hoaxing it. I also reviewed some other media from the school outside of the mannequin challenge video they did. They did basically like a horror movie, like a zombie horror movie, which you can tell was supported by teachers. They had teachers that were acting in it. They used an office that I think was actually the principal's office. So my feeling is there's probably a good art program, video production program going on at this school, and the teachers are supportive of it. Maybe that's why we have this story about the vice principal kind of keeping the spookiness around this ghost video. So let's take a look at what was released. This one was just released. I guess I'm shooting this on Friday on the 27th. So it was released either today or very late yesterday. So no one's really commented on this one yet. It is, I believe it's the same hallway, but it's reversed. I think it is the camera angle for this other camera that I was mentioning. They definitely raised the camera to a more appropriate height. Just based on this angle that I'm seeing here, I would say it might be as high as 6, maybe even 6.5 feet. Does that quite get us up to the ceiling where you would normally see, see these types of bulbs? On this one, yeah, certainly. This one is probably about 7 feet up there, but this one back here is even higher. I would guess that that's a pretty tall ceiling. I'd guess that's about 9 feet up there. So I don't know that this one is also, once again, a perfect match for the actual placement on the security camera, but that's somewhat debatable. First issue I have in this video is, once again, just kind of an issue of logic. What's up with these bags all over the place? This is 5 o'clock in the morning on the 26th, and some kids seem to have left their bags. Why do they have lockers if they're going to leave their bags all over the lockers? We literally have a bag just left on the floor here, 2 bags left on the floor. Next to this, I think this is a trash bin, and why is that just kind of all of a sudden in this hallway? We didn't see that. Oh, they have a different trash bin. You know what? I'm not convinced. Yeah, this is not the same hallway. This is not the same hallway at all. Check out the doors. You've got 2 doors together here with this kind of emergency, maybe a fire extinguisher. And out here we've got 2 separate doors with a fire extinguisher in between them. This isn't even the same section of hallway. This is actually in a different part of the school. Yeah, and we can also confirm that you can see there's like a bulletin board up over here that is nowhere on this one. So this is certainly a different part of the school. So even kind of keeping these in sequence of 2 lockers to 3 lockers doesn't really make sense here. But here's my real first problem with this footage. No, not the sound. Did you see what happened right before the sound? Watch the camera. Watch the edge right here where this picture frame is. Here, let me make that a little bigger for you. Watch this picture frame right here. Yeah, the camera shakes and actually winds up moving, changing position just a little bit so that there's more of this picture frame in there. You saw the same picture that I did about how these cameras are placed. They're inside domes. So how did the camera move like that? How did it shake like that? Maybe a ghost reached into the dome and shook it. That's literally the only way that I could imagine that would happen. So outside of that, we don't really get a visual indicator of what that sound effect is, but it sure sounds a lot to me like the door being slammed again. So I assume that it's another door likely behind the camera. And the movement potentially, if the camera operator is once again also being his own special effects guy, maybe he has a rope running to that door and he had just let go of the camera to pull on the rope. Maybe that's why the camera has a little shake there. That's really unsupported. That's just my theory on what could be going on here. The next instance we have is pretty interesting, actually. This is a pretty good effect. I'm glad they kind of stepped it up. Not only did they fix the camera angle, but they know that they've got this text in the upper left-hand corner, and they decide to levitate a chair. And then it drops. It's weird because the sound actually doesn't match up on when it's dropping. Yeah, once again, something's going on with editing on this clip, but levitating a chair, you put a wire there, you run it up to something above that acts as a pulley, and then you run the wire back down. There's doors all in this hallway, so any one of these doors could be a spot where there is a second special effects person waiting to pull a wire and to make something like this happen. And it's hard because we've got a lot of the image obstructed. But you can clearly hear when the chair is going up, it's scraping on the wall that's behind it, which would certainly be happening if there was some type of rope or line that was tied to the top of it that was anchored to something that was directly on the wall. It would pull not just up, but also in the direction of the wall that would make it scrape as it was rising. And then they drop it. The next instance, and I have to resize this. Give me a second here. Okay, I've got it resized. Now, I think the audio has slid for some reason. I don't remember it being like this when I originally watched this video. I think it might be happening because of my recording software that's running at the same time that I'm using Premiere. So don't pay attention to the audio goofs that we're seeing, but watch this. As we see this bag fly down and hit what looks like this trash can. Now, it flies a good distance. You can see that it flies in almost a straight line. Originally, I was thinking, could someone be behind this where this window is? I don't think so, because I think I see this glass solid on both sides. And it's not being thrown. The path that it's traveling never quite goes up. It really looks like it is just pushed to the edge, and then it fires in a straight line down right towards this can. The thing I'm most suspicious about with this can is this bag that's next to it, this bag here as well, but really this bag that's next to it. I think these are hiding an object. It could be something like a piece of pipe that is out there that has a line running through it. That way, when they pull on that line through the pipe, it is pulling that bag straight down. And I also would assume that if this is a trash can, it really belongs over here. I don't know why it would be sticking out in a doorway like that, unless it was obstructing some type of device that was used for this trick. So let's move on to the next one. We've only got two more to review. This one is a poster coming off the wall, and once again, we want to watch the flight of where it's going. It flies across and almost right into a doorway. So I believe we've got someone on the other side of this door pulling a line. Is this doorway possibly connected to another door down here that would have given someone an opportunity to make the chair levitate and then move up to the second doorway to make that sign come across? Perhaps. I'm pretty sure that this effect happened with someone that's over in this doorway. So maybe there's three. There could be three kids that are in on this one. And here we get the chair move across. And just think of the escalation of events that happens here in both of these videos. They both end with something that is deemed to be most significant. It is prominent in the foreground. You know, before we had the wet floor sign, now we have a chair. They're almost in the exact same location. And I think they're pretty much doing the same thing, being pulled by a wire. As a matter of fact, I believe the wire is going through this pipe system right here, and that is why the chair, as you see it finish its path of travel, butts right up to that piping system. Obviously, it is that leg of the chair that has the wire attached to it as well. So at least that's what I think. I guess on the other hand, there could really be ghosts out there, and perhaps they could be right behind me right now, and maybe I don't even know it. I don't know. Happy Halloween, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown on these videos. Tell me what you think about it in the description box below. Before I let you go, I just want to say I've seen a lot of reviews about these videos. Even Snopes now has an article about these videos. They're assuming that there is some After Effects magic going on here. I don't believe that in the slightest. The things that they're pointing out to are graphical glitches. They're digital artifacts in the conversion process of where this camera is coming from. And keep in mind, this is probably not a security camera. This is probably like some type of smaller handheld camera or something along those lines. I have a feeling that it might have its autofocus turned on, because especially in my software, I've been able to zoom in on certain sections, like of the pattern on the floor, and I'm seeing movement there even when there isn't any type of special effect happening around it. However, you'll see on Snopes and some other people on YouTube, they're looking at that type of movement and going, oh, look, this is a clear indicator that they did something digitally to make this effect happen. I don't think so. I think these are really creative kids. I think they might have some pretty rad fishing line, which, by the way, I'll have a link to in the description box below, where you can see the research on that. You can get fishing line that can pull up to 100 pounds. And of all the items that we're seeing here, even that chair can't weigh more than 3 or 4 pounds. I think even any standard fishing wire would be able to handle that. These are clever kids, and they are also having an event, a Halloween event at their school. Let me just bring up the poster so you can see that before I let you go. Fear Park, Sunday, October 29th. Visit the world's most haunted school. Do you think they had a reason for getting this word out, making a extremely viral video, which, by the way, has more views than even the BuzzFeed debunk video on this? I think they did a great job, and all I got to say is I'm a fan. If I was in Cork over this weekend, I would certainly stop by to see what else these kids can create, and I hope that actually some of these effects we're seeing are effects that they have built specifically for the haunted school thing. I hope they have some of the same stuff happen to people that pay the £5 to go see this live in person. My hat's off to them. I think it's great stuff. Before I let you go, one last thing. I might have to take a couple of days off this week. You guys know I have 3 fur babies here, 3 cats. One of them is not doing very well. He's been with us a long time, and I'm not sure how much more time we have with him. His name is Gary. He's really part of the reason why I even came to love cats. He was my girlfriend's cat, my now wife's cat before, and I wasn't really the biggest fan of cats, and it was thanks to Gary and Molly that I learned to love them so much, and now we've got Shelby and Chloe, but Gary isn't doing too well, so I might have to take a few days off this week. It probably... it's one of those things, might happen very fast. So subscribe to me on Twitter at LordandArts. I will certainly post a message there if I'm missing any videos. I also do put them out on YouTube, but not everyone sees the discussion tab. So check that bell icon right next to LordandArts down below. I think you can turn that on so that you get all my notifications, but really Twitter is probably the best way to keep up on me. So if you see, that time of day comes around when I usually post a video and it doesn't post for some reason, go to Twitter, check at LordandArts, which I don't even think you need an account. I think you can just go to Twitter and search at LordandArts and still find me. And I'll have any updates there on when I'll be coming back to do more work with you. Thank you all so much for all your amazing support, and I hope you have a wonderful Halloween, and hopefully I'll be seeing you here tomorrow on the Lord and Arts channel. Take care.